From refugee camps to nearly $500 million of net worth.
Who do you want to be and what type of life do you want to live?
We built the insurance company from 0 to 60,000 agents. We eventually sold it for a few $100 million.
How can the average person build incredible wealth in today's world?
By the time he left, I said, I think we just made this guy $10 million.
Wow.
We didn't make him $10 million, we made him $70 million.
Watch as Patrick reveals the exact blueprint that he would use if he were to start all over again.
I had already made millions. I had made tens. I've never experienced hundreds. But if you're crazy enough that you want to do it and you feel like there's opportunities, most of wealthy people, that's how they make their money.
Uncover what the future holds for us and where Patrick is investing his money.
PBD Podcasts and Valuetainment combined, 2 channels. They made models and ad sets.
What's a trend you see today that you believe will create the most millionaires in the next decade?
Nothing gives a better rate of return than.
And at last, get a rare, never-before-seen look into the Valuetainment machine. If you were to start all over today, how would you go about to try to grow wealth in today's economy? All right, Patrick, it is incredible to be here with you.
It's great to have you.
Get an inside look on the Valuetainment machine and kind of understand how it works. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about where we are, what happens here, and anything cool that maybe we'll see later on.
So this building we bought because I live 0.2 miles away. We came and we bought it. There was nothing here. And then we said, let's turn it into a comedy club. So it's got 2 bars now with a cigar lounge. But here we've done town halls, Bobby Kennedy,
Wow.
Candace Owens, Dave Smith, Chris Cuomo, Anthony Weiner, right? We've done some events here and it gets loud. So that's what's this building.
All right, so making the leap from insurance, right, to Valuetainment, a
Yeah.
media company, is a pretty bold decision. How did that decision come about? What was the leap forward? Give us the backstory.
My pastor, who married my wife and I, got up on stage at one of our events and he said, there's 7 mountains to climb. And he says the toughest one and the most influential one is media. If you can climb to the top of the mountain of media, you have more influence than anywhere else, but it's very hard to do so. It stuck with me, and that was in 2009. I said, you know what? I started looking at what am I going to be doing after insurance, and I liked the media aspect. December of 2012, we started our YouTube channel, and then something very unique happened in 2016, 2017 that led us to starting a consulting firm. Somebody who watched the channel at the time, 95% of my content was around business and entrepreneurship. One guy calls, talks to Mario, says, I would like 3 hours of Patrick's time. And Mario says, but what do you mean you need Patrick's time? I said, yeah, we just want to do an engagement with him. He comes to me and says, Pat, what do I tell this guy? I said, we don't run a consulting firm. I said, I don't know. I said, why don't you just make up a number, see what he tells you. He goes back and he says, Patrick's $5,000 an hour. Great, we'll book him for 3 hours. They came to our office in Addison. I started off the first 45 minutes doing a needs analysis on him. I'm doing this whole needs analysis first hour. Gives me the intel. I said, next 2 hours are yours. He asked questions. By the time he left, I said, I think we just made this guy $10 million.
Wow.
We didn't make him $10 million, we made him $70 million. I said, we're starting a consulting firm. The rest is history.
How much money are you spending on a monthly basis to produce the content? And how much content are you producing on a weekly, monthly basis?
Perfect. So last month in November, we ran numbers between PBD Podcast and Valuetainment combined, competing against BBC, CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC to see where we rank. So
Big
2 of
whales.
our channels, YouTube views, where Valuetainment and PBD Podcast ranks amongst everybody else. First place was Fox News, second place was MSNBC. We were 3rd, CNN was 4th, and it's everybody else. So now to do that, you need a team. Writers, editors, shooters, producers. It didn't start like this. It started off with 1 camera and 1 person is what we started off with, but then kept growing. Now, so you want numbers. PBD Podcasts and Valuetainment combined, 2 channels. One's got 6.3 million, the other guy's got 2.3. In 28 days of November, they made $500,000 in ad cents.
So you came to U.S. As a child from Iran. How did your upbringing as a child impact your entrepreneurial journey?
So I would say chaos, because in Iran, it was war. I'm living in the capital, Tehran. Iraq and Iran, they're going back and forth. I'm a 78 baby. So from 1980 to 1989, it's shambles. It's nasty. I think what ended up happening is seeing so much chaos and challenges and changes constantly, it almost desensitized chaos to me later on. My wife and I have been married 15 years. We have 4 kids, born in 3 states. Every time my wife was pregnant, we moved to a new state after our first 2 kids were born. We've lived in 12 or 13 different homes, places, and we've moved our offices 14 times because we're always expanding. And finally, we've built the life That was a dream of mine 20 years ago. But it took a long time of having to be comfortable in chaotic environment to not panic. So maybe the challenges I faced as a kid helped me out later on in career to not get rattled when shit hit the fan.
And were you putting these goals on paper as a child at some point? What do you think really contributed to actually seeing what you're seeing today after all that hard work?
I'm big on affirmations. I started writing affirmations and I would laminate it front and back, and I had it on my shower wall, so I'd be reading in the morning, at night, just getting excited. I remember when I read it, I want to read it again and again and again, and it gets me emotionally excited. Here's why, here's how. I'm excited about the why, how do I do it? Got it.
Mark my words, by the time this year is going to go, next time we'll get at least 6-figure or more. And anybody that comes on my team will get close to 6-figure or more.
So it was visualization, and eventually it happened.
All right, so you call this the boardroom.
Yes, we do.
The cigar lounge,
Yes.
essentially. All right, what inspired you to build this? This space is great.
We wanted to build a low-key, private, membership-only, and then the people that are members, they get a certain amount of guests to bring on a monthly basis. Of course, you get to buy your cigars from your humidor, you go and pick it. Money-wise, what is this gonna make us? We're not gonna make money off this thing here. It's built more to be an integrated business from everything else that we're doing. So client flies in on the private jet, they go to our office, we do a 2-hour engagement together with them. One of our consultants takes them out to dinner. Afterwards, bring your guests here, sit down, have a cigar. So it's a attainment side of valuetainment to it.
Let's dive into your military experience a little bit. What are some key lessons that continue to shape your leadership, your entrepreneurship today?
So first of all, when you're working on some days, like when I was in boot camp, I worked 36 hours one time.
Oh, yeah.
You're sitting there saying, am I really capable of working that many hours straight? You are. Camaraderie, the higher the stakes and pressure, the more you need fun, and where people are not playing rigid. Because if it's too rigid, things break and, under pressure. There's got to be a way of bringing attention down. In military, it's a lot of sarcasm, a lot of jokes, a lot of shots. Your skin's got to be thick, or else you're not going to be able to take it, because they talk a lot of smack. We were very good at it. But you're building a legal gang. The Army is a gang. And the way that translated into what we did later on with business, whether it's my insurance company or the companies I'm building right now, that camaraderie, that gang, that feeling is still there. And there's something very special about being part of a crew that's on the same mission, whether it's correcting an injustice or doing something that's never been done before. That energy is priceless.
All right, Blitz time with Pat. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, who would you want to play Patrick Bet David if they made a movie of your life story? Why?
John Bernthal. We both follow each other and we've spoken a couple times. I'm a big John Bernthal fan.
Big fan. All right, what are the small daily habits or routines that have been instrumental to your success?
Every day I'm gonna read, research, audio, no matter what, I'm gonna do it daily. Now, I used to read books a lot more than I do today, but I read a lot of articles and research today than I did before because of podcasts. But it's constantly trying to learn new things, and that's done very well for me.
What has been your favorite quote-unquote toy that your wealth has afforded you?
I just bought a 1989 Ayrton Senna McLaren car that's being shipped.
Wow.
That we're gonna hang up against the wall in our 1200 lobby, the new building that we bought. That's exciting. I just love collectible cars, man. I love baseball cards like you wouldn't believe.
What's your net worth today, cash and paper combined, if you're willing to share?
Give or take $500 million cash. I'm always gonna keep a good $100 million cash, because things that come up, I need to have that available to me.
A couple more. What's a trend you see today that you believe will create the most millionaires in the next decade?
I mean, there's no disputing it, right? It's AI. Article came out with Wall Street Journal today. You know what it says? It says, if you still Google, you're old. It's a different game today.
Interesting.
And so you have to be able to pivot and realize these tools are available to you, but I would say AI.
Gotcha. A couple more. Would you ever run for politics?
If I'm able to run for president, I would absolutely entertain it. But for me right now, I have no interest the next 12 years. Why? Trump. He's the guy that's done a great job putting the right team together. After that, I think the bench is deep. I think J.D. Vance is going to be formidable. But if all of a sudden the climate changes and certain constitutional laws change and America's having problems, I would absolutely entertain it.
That's awesome. Last one. If you could interview any historical figure, dead or alive, on your podcast, who would it be and why?
The Shah of Iran. period.
Patrick didn't build a $500 million empire by getting lucky. He did it by making the right calls at the right time. But how do you spot those opportunities in the first place? When making critical decisions for your business, you need the right info. Operating without it is a gamble. Shoot. That's why over 41,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle. It's the ultimate tool for taking the guesswork out of your decision making. NetSuite gives you the full picture of your business with real-time data and insights and a single unified system to manage your accounting, inventory, HR, and more, so you're no longer rolling the dice on your business and hoping it lands in your favor. It's too important to leave to chance, which is why if I had to make a critical call for my business, NetSuite would be what I trust to power my decisions with confidence. Smart businesses like Valuetainment don't gamble. They plan, predict, and seize opportunities. Speaking of opportunity, download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/UpFlip. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/UpFlip. netsuite.com/UpFlip. What are some common mistakes that you see people make, entrepreneurs specifically, that hold them back from reaching their full potential?
So if it's a brand new entrepreneur that just quit their job to start a business, their schedule, their effort. So if you work 40 hours a week for a company, you're going to work 90 hours a week. You can't be like, well, I'm done, 5 o'clock, I go home. No. You have to compress time frames. You have to find a way to do 3 days of work in 1 day. You don't have a choice. Now, the mistake an entrepreneur that's been around the block sometimes makes is, how they manage money, how they manage cash, how they manage investments, and thinking like you watch somebody like, oh my God, I want to be like him. Your personality is not him. But I think I'm a great CEO. You're actually not a good CEO. You're a good CTO. You're a good CFO. You're a good COO. You have to find a way to see what the company is missing for you to apply. I'll never forget one of the best things Tom ever taught me. He's the president of the holding company. He was one of my advisors that I eventually recruited to be the president of my insurance company. He came in, we raised $1 million first, then 10 million, then 35 million, then we sold the business for $250 million. He told me something. He says, Pat, you realize I've been a founder a handful of times. The amount of money I've made as a founder is nowhere near the amount of money I made as a number 2 or number 4 or number 6 of a company. I said, really, you made that much money? He says, no, it's actually the opposite. I'm not a good founder. This is the smartest man I know in my life. He said, I'm not a good founder, but I'm a great COO. I'm a great, guy that's going to come and be a CSO, Chief Strategy Officer, but I'm not a good one. I need to have somebody that has a massive vision on what they want to do and I can come help execute it. So as an entrepreneur, it's kind of like, am I an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, somebody that thinks, works, everything like an entrepreneur, but you don't risk it, and you don't have necessarily the vision part to put in there? It's knowing what position you perform the best in.
Here's a quick trivia for you guys. What percentage of businesses do you think fail in their first 5 years? 30, 50, or 70%? 50%. This is reality, but you can choose which half to join. That's why UpFlip has created a specific quiz tailored to your skills, goals, and situations with a perfect business model, and give you a step-by-step blueprint on how to launch your business in 10 days, guaranteed. Seriously, hit that link in the description and launch your business in 10 days, guaranteed. All right, let's talk about the day you had President Trump on the podcast,
Yes.
right? What was that like? What was it like booking a president? Just give us a quick overview.
So first of all, there was 36 Secret Service members there, helicopters
36.
above us, 2 fire trucks, 1 ambulance, dogs that are, when I pulled up in my Porsche, the dog jumped in, making sure nothing's in there. Everybody in the building had to be asked to leave. Nobody knew about the interview except for 4 people that it was happening. So here's a funny thing. So they have to touch every single button. Boom, boom, boom. Like a kid does all the elevator.
Yeah.
They press everything because they have to make sure it's safe.
There's no self-destruct button or something.
So everybody have to kind of reprogram everything back to, but that's one thing they did.
That's cool. All right, so we don't typically talk politics on our channel, Pat, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on the new income administration. Maybe what's one thing that's most exciting to you?
So I think what has finally happened to America, which is kind of cool. Look, I'm pro-business. I'm low taxes. I'm pro-family. Leave me alone. I'm going to create jobs. I'm going to build a business. I want America to be the greatest country in the world. At the same time, I want to feel safe that I'm going out there doing whatever I'm doing. That's what I'm for. And what are you for? I'm for this. Great. Let's debate on the things that we disagree with, and let's go out there and have some fun and do business together. And I think that's the climate that we have now. And I think the next 4 years are going to go by like this. When Biden became president, I'll never forget this. I said, what is the number one currency today? Fear. Fear of what? My competitors, I watch all of them in insurance, they were worried. Shut down. You can't sell people face to face. Zoom only. Essential, non-essential, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, you guys are panicking, right? No problem. I'm going to go on the greatest 4-year run ever I've gone on. In 2020, when we did election night, got 47,000 views. We had 6,000 people concurrent watching. I said, 4 years later, we're going to blow up. It's going to be our Super Bowl on election night. 4 years later, 283,000 concurrent, number one live stream on YouTube, millions of views on top of it. And now, today, 4 years are going to go by like this. We're so excited about 2028. I can't even tell you. But the part is, anyone watching this, you have to be that optimistic, like childlike level of optimism and creativity for the next 4 years. So your family will be in a better place than it is today.
All right, let's talk about when you sold the insurance company.
Yes.
What did you do when the money hit the bank? How did that change your life?
So I had already made millions. I had made tens. I've never experienced hundreds. And it's a very big difference with the adding of it to zero. And I'll never forget, my wife and I were having breakfast in Monaco. And it was a 3.5-hour breakfast to the right of Fairmont, just a regular place, but in Monaco, everywhere is incredible. And I said, babe, life's about to change. And we're reminiscing about all the stories, first time we met when we started the company, when miscarriage, family challenges, moments, brought to lose everything that we have. And I said, babe, life's about to change. Emotional, tears, euphoria. It was an incredible experience when that took place, because it's hard work with somebody you've been in business with for 15 years. Her office has been right next to mine. So for me, being on the road 6 months out of the year for 9 years, 10 years, to then experiencing this, it was life-changing.
Having negotiated a ton of deals out there, what's the secret to negotiation, whether it's for salary, business, family, etc.?
So if it's me, like if it's my position, my president of my insurance company, one time she asked me for a raise. I said, I don't like the way you asked it. So really? So yeah. So I held an emergency meeting with all my staff. And I said, moving forward, if you want to ask for a raise, do it in the following way. How's that? Put a 10-page PowerPoint and tell me exactly what you've done, how you've helped the company out. Have moral authority where I sit there and I say, okay, this makes sense. But also understand, if you're a company person, you can't come and tell me, pay me this or else this. What do you want to be involved in? I want to be able to drive the company to XYZ. No problem. So the more you have moral authority of the work you've done and you've won everybody over, you have the right to ask for it. Moral authority in negotiation is critical. Number one, gives you leverage. Now, if I'm negotiating with somebody, if I'm buying something that I'm not at all emotionally attached to, it's easy. It's logical. It's not worth it.
You're not
yes,
desperate.
I'm not. When I bought the Wayne Gretzky 2 hockey cars, the OPG and the Top Stem for $540,000, the owner of those 2 cars needed cash. I said, I'll give you $540,000. That's it. He said, all right, cool. I wired it to him. A year and a half later, I sold it for $2.2 million. That was logical. The building I just bought here, the 11 acres, that one I'm emotionally attached to. For 3.5 years, I wanted that building. So on the airport, it's got 2 hangars. I visualized the events we could do. When we eventually bought it for $25.2 million cash, that was an emotional property. It's like a girl. You like her because you want her to be your girlfriend and your wife one day. You like her because you just want to go out with her. These are 2 different types of way of negotiating. You screw this one up, you could lose your wife. You screw this one up, it's all good. I got others I can go talk to because I'm not trying to marry you. I'm just trying to have some fun with you. You have to know that, you have to know leverage, and you have to know if somebody's earned a moral authority to ask for something, sit down and reason with them. The Rock told me the best thing when Vince McMahon negotiated with him. He says, one day I go to Vince McMahon, I'm a star. I said, hey, I want to renegotiate my contract. He says, no problem, what do you want to get paid? He says, what do you pay Steve Austin? He says, $1 million a year. He says, great, I want $2 million. He says, I'm sorry, how did you come up with that formula? He says, I think I'm bigger than him and I want to get paid twice as much as he is. He says, would you be open to the idea if I have you go spend the next 90 days with my CFO to teach you exactly how the business works and then come back and ask for the raise? Rock says, no problem. Goes back, takes 3 weeks. He says, 3 weeks later, I realize they're not making a lot of money right now. Comes back, they're having a meeting.
And he said, how much do you think you're going to make this year? I said, well, my guarantee is $1 million. I've been averaging about 50% over my guarantee, so maybe 1.5. He went, okay. Now that you've taken yourself through that, now you understand the business, you're going to make $15 million this year.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
You're not expecting this.
No. But he already did the math. He could see where it goes.
Wow.
He'll make 50 million.
He says, when he told me that to my face, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Because he was finally vested to help WWE grow. Once he came an owner mindset, of course we're gonna share profits.
Game changer.
You help us grow, we're gonna help you grow. So that's the part about threatening a raise for salary and all that. It just tells me that you're only here for the money.
Yep.
Like, we'll let you go. But if it's something that I'm locked in, it gives you moral authority for me to say I want to bank on this guy long term.
If you're loving this inside look with Patrick Bet-David, do us a quick favor, hit that like and subscribe button. By subscribing, you're making sure you never miss out on any strategies, insights, and secrets from industry titans like Patrick. Plus, it helps us bring on more incredible guests and game-changing content straight to you. How are you investing your money today? What do you think is in store for the future of the economy? And if you can touch on crypto, real estate, things like that.
On the business end, technology, we need a lot of good machine learning engineers. We just developed a news site, vtnews.ai, and we had 15 machine learning engineers develop that. Monect, right now for us, which we're using on an incredible basis right now with what it's doing. It's becoming a number one networking site because I'm actually connecting and paying you to respond back to me. If I send you an email, cold email, less than 1% chance you respond. If I send you a DM on Instagram, 3%. If I send you a message on Facebook, 5%. LinkedIn, Twitter, say 5 to 8%. On Connect, you pay somebody, 91% chance they respond to you. You're paying them to get a response back. So Connect, we're making a big investment in that. And then we're developing a product right now called Phase 5 that has to do with HR and recruiting that we're gonna sell as a SaaS product, enterprise software, in the next 2 years. And we're making a massive investment into that. I can't wait to share that, but that'll happen in September of 2025.
Awesome. What about your take on the economy with new administration? Just opinion.
I think, Bitcoin, of course, a lot of people are excited about 90,000, 95,000, 97,000. Will it hit 250,000 by the end of it? I had Michael Saylor on. He thinks it's going to be 13 million within the next 20 years. But to me, all that stuff is great to have. A little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. Diversify as much as you can. Nothing gives a better rate of return than whatever you operate. We're banking on things we're building. And we're taking all the money that we have. I don't take a single penny off Valuetainment. 100% gets reinvested. Same what we did with PHP for the longest time. Because we're going long term. And the company grew exponentially this year. We're excited of keeping this up for the next 10 years.
All right, Pat, here's a challenge for you. If you were to start all over today, no money, no connections, absolutely nothing, how would you go about to try to grow wealth in today's economy?
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to be the long-term thinker because everybody's losing by thinking short-term. I'm going to join a crew that's going places. Once you get in a community that people are meshing, you just have opportunities that come up. Find a way to shadow, become a leader in that environment, and then eventually the long-term thinking way of it is, hey, I'm going to own a piece of this company. If the company gives shares, profit sharing, I want to participate in that. Most of wealthy people, that's how they make their money. And then if you're somebody that wants to be an entrepreneur, you want to work under someone that you don't have to be an entrepreneur eventually because you're an entrepreneur within a company. The only reason you become an entrepreneur is because you had a bad experience. Somebody works with somebody, they don't have a good experience, they're like, you know what, I'm going to go do it myself. I don't like the way they treated me. I don't like the way they did this, and I'm going to go do myself. But for the most part, there's many ways to make money within a business, not having to start a business. But if you're crazy enough that you want to do it and you feel like there's opportunities, just be ready. It's going to be 10, 20 years of a lot of pain.
Where are we going next? Valuetainment or?
We're going to go look at the vault.
You call it the vault.
That's now the PPD podcast.
That's where you have Mr. President on?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Let's go check it out.
Let's go check it out.
All right, so storytelling is an incredibly powerful tool for entrepreneurs. How can business owners watching become better storytellers, teach, speak as good as you?
Storytelling is suspense, details, every emotion, laughter, disturbed, emotional, angry. If I can get all of those feelings when you're telling me a story and you're captivating me, I'll stay with you. If I'm just like, here's what's going on, here's what happened, and that's it, I'm bored out of my mind. It is an art that's very important. The best ones learn how to tell them the right way that eventually ends up going viral and other people sharing it.
You've had some notorious figures from what I would say the mob world, right,
Yes.
on your podcast.
Yes.
And so curious, what are some really interesting experiences, lessons you took away from those conversations? What's the takeaway for us?
Let me tell you, for me, when I was innocent in business at first, I thought everybody wanted you to win. And I'm like, wait a minute. We took some markets. You were like, ooh, that was kind of dark what you just did right there. That was nasty. What was that all about? You used to say all these good things. Now you're saying this about me? Got it. So once you get to a certain level, you really realize that there are gangsters in every industry who are connected. And if you don't have those connections at the beginning, you're going to be going up against these guys. No problem. I learned this stuff. So then I watched Godfather, God knows how many times, and then I started interviewing all these living mobsters, and I realized there's a massive power play. Things that you do, negotiation, leverage, knowing how to do the right high stakes types of meetings. Mobsters were famous for having sit downs. How do you prepare for high stakes meetings? How do you prepare and know what they want and what you want? Are they revealing their card? Are you gonna do it? How do you do these types of things? So the more I spend time around these guys, the more I realize over there, your life's on the line. Over here, your life savings on the line. Both of them, you're going to be bankrupt. One, you're bankrupt life. This one, you're bankrupt with your business, but the stakes are still high.
What are some of the most expensive mistakes that you've made, Pat, running these businesses? What can our viewers take away from those lessons?
Yeah, so most expensive, I would say when my business was going and I started getting some cash in the bank, then it was kind of like, well, you know, what about if you invest into this and invest into this? And then this one guy approaches me about owning 60% of the clothing line. And I was like, oh, for sure. Are you kidding me? Let's do it. I did it. The 6 months that I was dealing with that business, some of the most stressful 6 months of business I've ever had. I had no control over it. The guy that was running it was a mess. He was not a good operator. He was a product guy, but he was not a leader himself, vision, always in financial issues. I said, I'm out. Don't worry about it. I ended up getting stuck with 500 jackets that were selling for $1,000. I said, I don't give it. I told everybody, come over to my house. Hey, Christmas is here, take a jacket. Oh, beautiful, by the way, Burberry type of jackets. I said, I'm out. I don't want to have nothing to do with this. I'm out. So that's 6 months. It may have only cost me a few $100,000 of investment. Hourly, I lost $30, $40 million, waste of my time.
What's the lesson? What was the mistake?
Stay focused. Build to Sell. The book, Build to Sell, is about build one thing and don't get distracted with all these fancy object type of stuff. This is what I'm building. Here's what I'm in.
That's it.
I'm doing insurance. I don't need to sell all these other products. Or what if you sell real estate to all your clients? You can make another $40 million. Mm-hmm. What if you sell auto insurance? Nope. We're life and annuities. That's what we're doing, period. Maniacal focus. Then you have growth.
You've interviewed some of the biggest names in the business and beyond. Was there a moment with a particular person that really kind of challenged your thinking, changed your perspective on something? Share it with our audience.
So I'll give you two of them. So challenge perspective versus shifted. I'm in Nashville. We're trying to interview John McAfee, the late John McAfee, which I don't know if you've seen his documentary. If you've seen it, you know how crazy it is. It's him. We get a text. McAfee's ready. Here's the address. Meet us here. My editor and the shooter and Mario go inside. I'm outside in the car on a call with Tom. Mario's like, Pat, you better come in here. These guys are very paranoid. They're nervous. They're saying, why are you outside? So I walk inside, and they're looking at me like, who are you? I said, I'm Patrick Bet-David. I'm interviewing John McAfee. Well, why are you here from Iran? What's your story? What's your motive? All that they're pounding. I'm like, I was in the military. No, you weren't. What was your MOS? 63 Bravo. Where were you stationed at? Fort Campbell, Kentucky. They're asking me all these questions, and I finally said, well, if that's the case, come on in, brother. Challenged is when I had Trump on, I asked him a question that I've always been curious to know: who has more power? Is it the president? Is it the billionaires? Is it Congress? Is it social media? Is it, all these establishment people?
Who actually has
the
power?
most powerful person by far? The president. Power over everybody.
I didn't think about it the way he explained why the president has as much power as he does. That was a shift.
If instead of this being an interview, Pat, and this was an official consultation, how much would you have charged this by now?
Speaking, I'm $300,000 to $500,000 speaking per hour speaking. Wow. And we have a list that we decline all the time because I only want to do 4 per year. I'm not a public speaker. That's my business model. I make a lot more money being here than getting paid $500,000 to go away speaking. A lot more money. Consulting, incredible. If I'm spending time with you the 2 hours, it would be $40,000 to $50,000 per hour. So this would be $100,000.
You guys heard that from Pat. So you've seen and met and have a lot of successful people in your network. What are some traits that make them successful? And then on the flip side, what are some traits that cause them to fail?
You know how some people are crap magnets that they always attract crap, relationships, friends, problems. There's always something happening with them, right? It's an identity thing. But then you got certain people that have good intuition about certain people. Not all the time. It's like shooting free throws. So 80%, 90%, 40%. It's like, I don't know, I think this is going to work. Let's try it out. That's one. The other thing I would tell you that's very important is the guys that make it at the highest level. Einstein said one of the most powerful quotes. The difference between, he says, I'm not a genius. The only difference between me and you is I stay with problems longer. Somebody's like, I'm not going to figure it out. I'm out. So if you can stay with problems longer, eventually you're going to figure it out.
So you're incredibly big on books. What are 3 books you read or read most recently, and maybe the biggest takeaways from them?
I'm reading weird books right now, but I would say Joseph Kennedy's biography, how relentless this guy was, where they didn't want him to be the president of a bank, so he goes and buys the bank to become the president, and how he got into circles of the elites to get into politics and sitting down the conversations with his kids, how competitive he was. Just Joseph Kennedy's a very interesting guy to me. I'm reading a lot of HR books because I'm in that phase where a year ago we had 50 employees full-time here. Now we got 130 employees full-time right now, W-2 employees. Everything to me is getting the HR part right. So first 90 days, HR book. I'm reading a lot of stuff like that I don't know if your guys are going to get excited about.
Applicable in your season. All right, Pastor, what's happening here? It's like 7 o'clock and there's 30 people here.
So this is the consulting firm. These guys are all talking to clients. This is when I said we have 10,000 clients from 60 plus countries.
Wow.
It is 6:49 right now, dealing with different types of business owners, from doing 10 million a year to doing 100 million a year, trying to find a way to raise capital, hire C-suite executives, different types of problems they have, marketing, expansion, scaling, but it's a consulting firm.
You talk a lot about resilience. What's your advice for entrepreneurs, business owners to make it through the tough times and keep going? I mean, what keeps you motivated?
Right. So to me, and a lot of people ask the question, if I see somebody that gets casual, they just kind of make money and then just slow down, make money and then slow down, make money and then slow down, you don't have a real vision. You're winging it. The toughest question to ever ask someone, my experience when I'm doing business plan, is who do you want to be and what type of life do you want to live? So what does that mean? Who do you want to be? What do you mean, who do I want to be? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the founder that's driving for 20, 30, 40 years? Do you want to just make money, be rich and kick back, relax and live a low-key life? And then what kind of a life do you want to live? Well, I want to live a life that I'm making big decisions. Okay, you want big decisions? Yes. I want to be able to walk into a room and everybody stops and I have the right kind of respect when I walk into a room. Great. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of, nights by yourself you're working that nobody sees what you're doing. That's years of you being dedicated to that vision. Are you willing to go through that? It's a lot of criticism. It's a lot of days where nothing happens. You still have to show up motivated and excited. It's a lot of days where everybody in the company that fails, all the failures roll up to you. Are you okay with that? Well, I don't know if I am. Well, then match the way you want to live with who you want to be. If that matches, you'll be happy. But if who you want to be doesn't match the way you're living, you're going to be miserable. So that's the part for me. For me, it's so clear what I want to do next 40 years. We're going to 40-year run. God willing, if we stay healthy.
Yes.
He's the only person that can fire me.
What's one piece of advice you wish you would have received earlier in your journey?
The one thing or the one person that you think you desperately need to validate you, you don't need it. You're going to be okay. So for example, if we land that account, man, if that guy only does the podcast, if only get this person, if only this, it's not how it works. They're not going to say yes. A lot of people are not going to want to do business with you. A lot of people are not going to like you. It's going to be okay. Not everybody's going to look at you and like you the way other people like you. No. You just need to find the people you share common values with, that buy into you, and those who don't, it's okay. I remember one time I had a literary agent who was representing my first book, Your Next 5 Moves. And I was in a point where I'm like, does this guy believe, or is it just the money thing he's doing with me? I did this with everybody in my circle, managers, everybody. I said, let me ask you this, who do you think I am? He said, what do you mean? I said, who do you think I can become in the next 5 years? Who am I going to be? And he says, well, I see you as the ethical version of this guy. I said, that's how you see me? He says, yes. Anything else? He says, no. I said, great, I appreciate it. Next day, got fired. Easy email. I told him, and he's like, I totally get it. Went to the other person. The other person, I said, how do you view me? What do you think in 5 to 10? He says, I think you're da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I said, bingo. Following up 3, 4, 5 meetings. This person's a true believer. Great. One was transactional. One believes. Instead of trying to convince him that I'm special or I'm going to do something in my life, come on, believe in it. That's not how it works. Just go find the people that fully believe in you. Those guys can help you get to the next level. You don't need everybody. You're not going to win everybody over. No way.
What role does faith play in your life? I know you're pretty open about it.
Yeah. Number one. And the reason for it is the only way I can be in 50 places at the same time is I need a higher power with me. How the heck am I going to be in 50 different places at the same time? So if I rely on him, that he's going to be with my kids, with my wife, with my family, with my peers, I'm going to be okay. If we're casting this big of a vision, you think we're going to do it by ourselves? No way. Life-changing, the day I gave my life to Christ, January 21st of 2004, everything changed. Faith has been number one. I don't walk on water. I make a lot of mistakes, but I know everything that I get comes from him. And it's been life-changing for us.
Yeah, amen to that. If you enjoyed this episode, then I highly encourage you to check out our interview with Tommy Mello, who went from zero to $220 million a year, 84 locations with over 700 employees. Take a second, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.